After my painful divorce, I moved into my parents' house with my 10-year-old daughter, reluctantly paying $3,500 each month to my manipulative younger sister. When her greed grew unbearable and I finally refused, she viciously kicked us out and publicly humiliated me online. But she never imagined my secret would end her life as she knew it, in just one devastating video. My name is Charlotte Carter, and I'm 35 years old. I work as a marketing executive in Seattle, Washington. Most people who meet me assume that my life is perfect. I have a good job, I earn a decent salary, and I'm raising a wonderful daughter named Ava. She's 10 years old, smart beyond her years, and the absolute center of my world. But the truth is, things are far from perfect, and sometimes I feel like I'm barely holding it all together. 4 years ago, after a difficult divorce, Ava and I moved back into my childhood home with my parents, Robert and Margaret Carter. The idea seemed logical at the time. My parents are getting older, and I thought it would help all of us. I pay them $3,500 a month in rent, which isn't exactly cheap, but I figured it was fair since I could help with their expenses. Beyond rent, I also cover groceries, electricity, gas, and almost every other household bill. It's a lot, but I manage it somehow. I tell myself it's worth it for Ava to have a stable home environment after the chaos of my divorce. The main problem, though, is my younger sister, Jessica. Jessica is 30 years old and an aspiring social media influencer. She lives with us too, but she doesn't pay a cent toward rent or utilities. Our parents adore her, especially my mother, who has always favored Jessica because of her charm and outgoing personality. Jessica thrives on their favoritism, and she knows exactly how to manipulate them into giving her whatever she wants. Sometimes, when I come home exhausted from work, I see Jessica unboxing packages filled with designer clothing or bragging about some luxury vacation she's booked. She'll tell our parents that these expensive items and trips are critical investments for her influencer career. And despite the fact that her income from sponsorship deals is minimal and inconsistent, our parents willingly pay for it all. Whenever I voice concerns, I'm met with accusations of jealousy or bitterness. It's frustrating, especially because no one seems to recognize how unfair the situation is. For years, I tolerated this arrangement because I didn't want to upset my parents or disrupt Ava's sense of family stability. But everything changed drastically 2 months ago. Out of nowhere, I received a frantic call from my close friend and coworker, Sarah. She was nearly in tears, asking if I had checked social media that day. Confused, I opened my phone, only to discover something that made my heart drop. Jessica had posted highly sensitive details about my past marriage online, things I had only confided to my closest family and friends. She twisted those painful memories into a sensationalized story, implying infidelity and wrongdoing on my part. My personal life was suddenly exposed to thousands of people online, spreading like wildfire through my professional circles. The humiliation I felt was overwhelming. My boss called me in, gently but firmly questioning me about the posts. The management was worried about how this drama might affect the company's image, and suddenly my job, something I had worked so hard to build, was at risk. When I got home that evening, my parents were sitting quietly in the living room, clearly uncomfortable but unwilling to confront Jessica. She was in her room, door closed, acting as if nothing had happened. Why did Jessica do this? I asked my mother. Does she understand what she's done? My mother sighed, looking tired but defensive. Jessica said it was just content for her page. You're blowing it out of proportion, Charlotte. She didn't mean any real harm. I couldn't believe her words. Jessica had publicly humiliated me, jeopardized my job, and my own mother was excusing her behavior as mere content creation. At that moment, Ava walked into the room, sensing the tension. She hugged me tightly, whispering, "Mom, are you okay?" It broke my heart to realize that even my daughter, at 10 years old, understood the seriousness of the situation better than my parents. That night, after Ava fell asleep, I confronted Jessica directly. Her reaction stunned me even further. She rolled her eyes, completely unapologetic. "Stop being dramatic, Charlotte," she said coldly. Your boring life needed some excitement anyway. Maybe now people will finally pay attention to you." Her words echoed cruelly in my head, reminding me how little she respected me. It became clear to me then that Jessica was not just selfish, she was deliberately malicious, taking pleasure in my pain. In the weeks that followed, things worsened at work. Colleagues started avoiding me, clients questioned my professionalism, and every day felt like a battle to maintain respect and dignity. All because Jessica had decided my personal trauma made entertaining content. I hit my breaking point one rainy afternoon while sitting alone in my car after work, feeling completely drained and defeated. As tears rolled down my face, I knew I had two choices: continue to endure Jessica's cruelty or take control and fight back. I refused to let her ruin the life I had built for Ava and me. Right then, I decided that Jessica needed to face the consequences of her actions. I wasn't going to confront her openly again. She was far too good at manipulating our parents. Instead, I planned to quietly gather proof of her true nature, her deceit, her manipulation, and especially her financial misdeeds. She had no idea what was coming, but soon enough, the world would see the truth about Jessica Carter, and I would finally reclaim my life. After that terrible day in the car, I knew there was no turning back. I couldn't just sit around, waiting for Jessica's next attack. If I didn't take action now, I risked losing my job, my dignity, and my daughter's respect. Ava deserved better than a mother who allowed people, even family, to walk all over her. I spent the next several days silently gathering my thoughts and creating a plan. It wasn't easy. Every night when I closed my eyes, the pain from Jessica's betrayal haunted me. The humiliation of people at work gossiping, staring, and whispering was something I would never forget. My boss had been patient, but even she couldn't guarantee my job security if the rumors persisted. I had to move quickly. At first, it seemed impossible. Jessica had always been clever, hiding behind her charming smiles and innocent facade. Our parents believed every word she said, convinced she could never do wrong. To them, Jessica was the family's rising star, a glamorous influencer who could do no harm, and I was the serious older sister who simply didn't understand the new age. Determined to reveal Jessica's true colors, I began discreetly tracking her financial activities. At night, when the house was quiet, I'd sit at my laptop, meticulously researching Jessica's online presence. Slowly, I began to uncover things that shocked even me: fake sponsorships, undeclared advertising income, and clear evidence of tax evasion. The more I dug, the more convinced I became. Jessica's life was built on lies and fraud. Meanwhile, life at home grew increasingly tense. Jessica, sensing my anger but unaware of my plan, took every opportunity to provoke me. At dinner one evening, she casually mentioned to our parents, "You know, Charlotte might need therapy. She seems so unstable lately." I stayed silent, biting my tongue until it nearly bled, determined not to reveal my intentions too soon. My parents, still protective of Jessica, gave me worried glances, as if they genuinely believed her lies. But Ava noticed something different. One evening, as I tucked her into bed, she whispered softly, "Mom, I know Aunt Jessica is being mean to you. Why don't Grandma and Grandpa see it?" I brushed her hair gently from her face, unsure how to explain. "Sometimes adults don't always see things clearly, sweetheart. But trust me, one day soon, everyone will see the truth." Days turned into weeks as I meticulously documented every financial wrongdoing. Jessica continued her careless lifestyle, unaware of the storm that was brewing. Finally, I had enough evidence, screenshots, bank statements, and messages to prove her guilt beyond doubt. I organized everything carefully and created an anonymous email to send my findings directly to the IRS and local authorities. My hands trembled slightly when I clicked send, knowing that once I did, there would be no turning back. But it was done. Jessica's fraud was about to become public knowledge, and she had no idea it was me behind it. 2 weeks later, my phone buzzed loudly at work, displaying my mother's name. I answered cautiously, knowing something significant had happened. My mother's voice was frantic and strained. Charlotte, you need to come home right away. Jessica is in trouble. Big trouble. I drove home quickly, my heart pounding nervously but calmly determined. When I entered the living room, the scene was chaotic. Jessica was sitting on the couch, hysterically crying. My mother hovered around her, wringing her hands anxiously. My father paced back and forth, his expression stern and worried. Jessica, tell me what's going on, I demanded, though I already knew. Jessica glared at me, eyes red from crying. Someone reported me. The IRS called. They're investigating me for fraud. My sponsors are dropping me, Charlotte. I'm losing everything. She searched my face desperately for sympathy, but I remained stone-faced. I noticed my parents staring at me suspiciously, as though something was finally clicking into place. I stayed quiet, letting Jessica continue her breakdown. Charlotte, you're the only one here who works in business. Maybe you can help her figure this out, my father finally suggested, desperation evident in his voice. I took a deep breath, standing firm. She created this situation herself. I warned you both many times about her reckless behavior. Jessica chose her path. Jessica stood abruptly, rage replacing her earlier panic. This is your fault. You were always jealous of me. Admit it. You did this. I stared at her evenly. Jealous? Of you? Jessica, I have nothing to envy. I work hard, I pay my bills, I provide for Ava and myself without manipulation or lies. Can you say the same? Jessica's face twisted in anger, and she lunged toward me, but my father stepped quickly between us. Stop it, both of you. My mother began sobbing, overwhelmed by the turmoil. I felt no satisfaction, only sadness that it had come to this. Still, I knew it had to happen. Jessica's lies had finally caught up with her. The next few days passed painfully slow. Jessica retreated into her room, barely coming out. The once lavish gifts and shopping bags stopped arriving at our doorstep. Our parents remained quiet, hurt and confused. Ava, sensing the shift in the house, stayed close to me, worried but trusting. Then one evening, my parents called a family meeting. Sitting across from Jessica, at the dining table, my father finally spoke. Jessica, the authorities have shown us the evidence. It's true. We can't protect you from this. Jessica shook her head desperately. But I didn't mean for things to get this bad. My father sighed deeply, looking weary and defeated. Intentions don't erase actions, Jessica. He turned to me, sadness in his eyes. Charlotte, I'm so sorry. We should have listened. Jessica's head dropped into her hands, shoulders shaking with sobs. My mother silently wept beside her. In that moment, despite everything, I felt a strange sense of calm. Justice was finally unfolding, and Jessica was facing the consequences of her deceit. But deep down, I knew the story wasn't over yet. This was only the beginning of the storm. In the days following Jessica's breakdown, tension filled every corner of our family home. Jessica spent most of her time locked away, refusing to speak to anyone. My parents moved around quietly, avoiding my gaze, still coming to terms with the truth they had so blindly ignored for years. Although I had finally exposed Jessica, I found no joy in her suffering. Instead, there was a lingering sadness, an emptiness I couldn't explain. Perhaps it was the realization that our family might never fully heal from this betrayal. At work, things began stabilizing, albeit slowly. The scandal that Jessica had created around my past marriage started to fade into old news, replaced by Jessica's own scandal. Colleagues who once whispered behind my back now approached me cautiously, offering apologies or awkward smiles. My boss invited me to coffee one afternoon and gently reassured me, Charlotte, we know now. You've handled yourself with incredible dignity through all of this. Your job is secure. Though relieved professionally, I still struggled emotionally at home. Jessica's anger simmered beneath her silence, and every time we crossed paths in the hallway or the kitchen, her eyes burned into me, filled with resentment and blame. One night, unable to avoid confrontation any longer, she stopped me as I was heading toward my bedroom. You think you've won, Charlotte? She hissed, bitterness dripping from every word. Do you really think our parents love you more now? You destroyed this family. I stopped, staring back at her calmly. No, Jessica, I didn't destroy this family. You did. All I did was show them the truth you've hidden for so long. She narrowed her eyes, her voice shaking. I'll never forgive you for this. Jessica, I sighed softly, feeling a profound sadness rather than anger. You haven't even begun to understand the damage you've caused, not just to me, but to our parents and to Ava. She flinched slightly at Ava's name, a rare moment of vulnerability flashing in her eyes. Without another word, Jessica stormed off, slamming her bedroom door loudly behind her. The weeks that followed brought significant changes. Jessica's sponsorships completely vanished. Her social media accounts were flooded with angry followers who accused her of dishonesty. Reporters briefly surrounded our home, eager for statements, but eventually moved on when Jessica refused to appear. My parents, humiliated by the spectacle, found it hard to leave the house. They were quiet and withdrawn, often staring into space as if processing an unbearable truth. One evening, after dinner, my father finally broke the silence. Charlotte, your mother and I have decided Jessica needs to move out. She can't stay here after everything that's happened. Jessica, overhearing from the hallway, rushed in, eyes wide with panic. Where am I supposed to go? You're really going to choose Charlotte over me? My mother spoke gently, but firmly. Jessica, we're choosing to face the truth. You can't remain here unless you face responsibility. You betrayed all of us, especially your sister. Jessica shook her head in disbelief, her voice filled with desperation. So, that's it? You're abandoning me just like Charlotte's husband abandoned her. My heart froze at her cruel jab, but my father's voice quickly rose, his tone sharper than I'd ever heard. Enough. Your sister has done nothing but support this family, including you, and you repay her with cruelty? You've left us no choice. The finality in his voice ended the conversation. Jessica stormed off, sobbing. Soon after, she found a tiny, rundown apartment on the outskirts of Seattle. It was a harsh reality compared to her former lifestyle. The first night Jessica was gone, the house felt strangely quiet. I sat beside Ava's bed, stroking her hair gently as she drifted off to sleep. Ava opened her eyes slightly, whispering, Mom, is everything going to be okay now? I smiled softly, though my heart was heavy. Yes, sweetheart, we're going to be just fine. But I couldn't shake the feeling that things were still unresolved. Jessica's absence hadn't magically erased the pain and mistrust left behind. My parents moved around me cautiously, almost guiltily. One morning, as I drank coffee in the kitchen, my mother sat beside me. Charlotte, she said softly, her voice trembling, your father and I need to apologize. We were wrong. We should have protected you. I looked at her, seeing the genuine regret in her eyes. Mom, I never wanted revenge. I just wanted fairness and truth. She reached for my hand, squeezing it gently. I understand that now, Charlotte. I'm sorry it took so long. Yet, even as we began healing at home, something felt unfinished. Jessica, though struggling, had not shown any sign of remorse or understanding. Her bitterness continued, evident through hateful messages occasionally sent to my phone or angry voicemails blaming me for her failures. I realized then that Jessica hadn't truly faced consequences yet, not internally. She hadn't accepted responsibility, and without that, true healing was impossible. The calm we felt at home felt temporary, fragile. I tried to ignore my unease, focusing instead on building a peaceful life for Ava and myself. I began searching for our own apartment, wanting independence more than ever. The thought of leaving my childhood home again was both liberating and frightening, but necessary. But just as I was finally beginning to see light at the end of the tunnel, I received a late-night phone call from Jessica. Her voice, shaking with fear and desperation, chilled me to my core. Charlotte, please, I need your help. I'm in trouble. I think someone's following me. My heart raced, and despite all she'd done, panic rose in my chest. Deep down, I knew Jessica's call wasn't just a plea for help. It was a warning that our family's troubles were far from over. When Jessica called me that night, her voice trembling with fear, I initially hesitated. After everything she'd put me through, the impulse to ignore her desperate plea was strong. But something in her voice stirred my instincts. Beneath her usual bitterness was genuine terror. Despite our fractured relationship, she was still my sister, and deep down, I knew I couldn't abandon her. "Jessica, where are you?" I asked, gripping the phone tightly. "At my apartment, please hurry. I think someone's watching me." I saw someone outside my window," she whispered, panic rising in her voice. "Stay calm. I'll be there soon," I reassured her, grabbing my keys. Ava was safely asleep, and my parents were home, unaware of Jessica's call. I drove through the dark Seattle streets, questions spinning through my head. Was this another of Jessica's manipulations, or was she truly in danger? Arriving at her small, dingy apartment complex, I found Jessica waiting anxiously by her door. Her face was pale, eyes wide and filled with genuine fear, something I had never seen from her before. Without words, she threw her arms around me, sobbing uncontrollably. "Jessica, calm down," I said softly, guiding her inside. Her apartment was barely furnished, empty takeout boxes scattered around. The place reeked of isolation and despair. "I saw someone outside earlier. They stood watching me through the window, just standing there staring. Charlotte, I think someone knows about everything. Maybe someone angry because of the fraud." "I'm so scared," she said, trembling. "You need to tell the police, Jessica." I insisted firmly, but she shook her head in fear. "No police. If this gets out publicly again, my life will be over for good." "I can't risk it," she pleaded desperately. Her fear felt real. Despite our history, my protective instincts took over. "You can't stay here tonight. Pack your things. You're coming home with me." She hesitated, shame mixing with relief. "After all I've done to you? You're still my sister," I replied softly, though my heart ached at the memories of her betrayals. That night, Jessica slept restlessly in our parents' home again, but nothing felt the same. Our parents, confused but relieved, asked no questions, silently grateful I had brought Jessica back safely. I felt uneasy, sensing the threat was far from over. The next few days brought silence, no strange figures, no threats, and Jessica slowly relaxed. But I remained alert, feeling an invisible danger looming. Meanwhile, Jessica's attitude gradually changed. For the first time, she expressed genuine remorse, quietly thanking me one evening for helping her when she least deserved it. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness," Jessica admitted quietly. "But I'm sorry, Charlotte. For everything." I felt a weight lifting slightly from my heart, though trust would be slow to return. "Jessica, apologies are only words. Real change takes action." She nodded silently, tears streaming down her face. For the first time, she seemed truly broken by the consequences of her own actions. A week later, as life began settling into a cautious routine, I received a strange envelope at work. No return address. Inside was a handwritten note. "Be careful who you protect. You might share their fate." My heart pounded violently. Who knew about Jessica's situation and why threaten me? Was someone targeting Jessica for revenge? Or had I become the target now too? That evening, as I tucked Ava into bed, fear surged through me again. Ava sensed my unease. "Mom, is Aunt Jessica okay now?" I forced a smile, hiding my anxiety. "Yes, honey, she's fine. Go to sleep." Late at night, when the house was silent, Jessica knocked softly at my bedroom door. She looked exhausted, clearly troubled. "Charlotte, I think someone from my past is coming after me. One of the sponsors I cheated, someone who lost a lot of money because of my actions. They warned me before, but I ignored it. I was selfish. I never thought it'd come to this." "Jessica, why didn't you tell me earlier?" I demanded quietly, frustration mixing with sympathy. I was ashamed. I wanted to fix it myself. But now I realize my lies don't just hurt me. They put you and Ava at risk too, she admitted tearfully. As we stood together, finally facing the raw truth, headlights suddenly flashed across the living room window. My heart froze. Someone was outside. Jessica grabbed my arm in panic, her eyes filled with terror again. We moved cautiously toward the window, barely breathing. Outside stood a dark figure, unmoving, watching our home silently. Fear clawed at my chest, but determination filled me. I wouldn't let anyone threaten Ava or my family again, not even as revenge against Jessica. I quickly dialed 911, whispering urgently. Moments felt like hours, until finally sirens broke through the silence, causing the shadowy figure to vanish quickly into the darkness. After police arrived and took our statements, promising protection and investigation, Jessica broke down entirely, overwhelmed by guilt and fear. She realized fully the devastation her selfishness had caused, finally understanding that her betrayal had consequences far beyond herself. Days passed, tense but safe. Jessica turned herself in voluntarily, cooperating fully to expose every wrongdoing and repay those she'd harmed. For her, it was a painful but necessary path to redemption. As for me, I realized revenge had never truly healed anything. Justice and personal responsibility were what brought peace. I secured an apartment for Ava and myself, finally independent and safe. Though scars remained, I had reclaimed my dignity and freedom. Jessica eventually faced the justice she deserved. But even more importantly, she learned true remorse. And while our family remained fractured, it slowly healed, understanding finally the profound truth that betrayal's only antidote is honesty, responsibility, and time.